like I don't know. I look at a scene like this and I just think that this is what we would come to if women just decided to stop around with men,
Right.
just form their own society
Underground. I love that.
This is what it would look like. We'd build, all our furniture would be made of bones,
and we're all just like kick you in the pants. I can't actually hug you. I'm like Danny Zuko in Grease. All I can do is punch you in the shoulder.
No, instead we penetrate each other with our giant saws.
I never know what I'm gonna do.
Rustier.
Make
it rustier. Yes, there we go. Laci and I, this is Load Bearing Screams. I'm Matt Chokes.
And I'm Laci Goth.
We just got back from the chainsaw store where a very excitable man was having a sort of orgasm as he watched us go to town on a tree, but we'll get into that. Yeah, this is the
Look, it's JT the Talking Dead, and he's got a collection of movies. We should watch one of them.
Yes, hello, our guest, JT the Talking Dead. Hello.
Hello.
It's JT the Talking Head. Please look him up on TikTok and other social media platforms. Okay. What you got there, JT? What you doing?
We have my collection of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, it's just a collection of
every
the
cover.
One movie that we're watching today, but he has like 7 different copies of it.
I know,
but each a different edition.
You're a double dipping fan.
Yes.
Do you count this as double dipping if they're each a different edition?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So they're mostly the same like movie overall, but they do have different like bonus features. This is the newest edition that's come out. It's on 4K. It's from Vinegar Syndrome, and this is the most complete edition that you can probably find of this movie, because it collects like almost all of the archival bonus features that these editions all had on them, except for maybe ones that were specifically produced by these labels.
Right.
And then it has a whole house of brand new features as well, with interviews and all sorts of great stuff.
See, I knew it was cool to collect boutique label, or what do you call it? Prestige labeled. Like, what's Criterion called? Boutique. Okay. But I just learned. Matt said if Criterion publishes your movie or produces it, whatever you call it, you get like an essay. Like, there's certain things that each company will do that build on.
Yeah, film critic.
They world
writes an
build,
essay in
right?
The little booklet.
Yes. So you get more and more info, and there's more than just the coolness of it. There's I can't talk.
There's the info.
There's info inside.
Like Dr. Evil says, we need the info.
We are the boss.
Yeah, we're doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is our episode. At the our guest submitted this movie.
He submitted it.
He submitted it to us. But can you tell everybody listening, just tell them a little bit about yourself and your content creation, what you do, what your approach is?
Yes.
My name has been stated multiple times. It's not JT the Talking Dead, but JT the Talking Head. But we do a theater of terror thing sometimes around Halloween where I do kind of become a floating head. I have a podcast of my own that is sort of dormant at the moment, but it's called Masters of Matinee. That is what made me befriend Laci here, because my other co-host has been on a former episode of you guys's Droobies Doobies Movies. We just talk about movies and physical media, and we just in general are just film fans, man. That's what we just love to talk about. We have 2 other co-hosts, Judas Cinema Closet and Zedzilla, and I gotta say, there was a time where there was an inside joke with the Masters of Matinee around the time when Drew went on this show, where we always joked that the Load Bearing Beams podcast was poaching Drew from us. So now I'm excited to say that Load Bearing Beams has now poached Drew and JT the Talking Head from Masters of Matinee. Zed, you're on your own. I'm sorry, buddy.
We have got, and this is a fake interview. You're actually in the room with us. We just made it look like your house. This is the big reveal. He lives with us now. He's our baby boy.
I have been kidnapped.
And this was your movie. I mean, can you tell us about why you picked this movie and what your relationship is with the movie and I guess Texas Chainsaw, the franchise in general.
Yeah, why 2? If we were to talk about 3, do you have another set of stack over there that you just fan out and show us?
I do actually have another stack. I have another stack of the first movie. I actually even have like where's a poster back here
Oh yeah.
underneath Boogie. But since I was a little kid, man, it goes back really to being defiant and being told you can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, my mom hated these kind of movies. She hated blood and gore. And I remember one time I actually got her to rent on VHS tape from the video store the fourth Texas Chainsaw movie, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: Next Generation. It's the one with Renee Zellweger, Matthew McConaughey, and that one is very poorly received. I love it, but it's very poorly received. And it had the F word every other word, and my mom turned it off within 5 minutes. And I got up in the middle of the night, and I in the middle of the night, and I was hooked on the idea of Leatherface ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So I had found every way I could to watch the first movie, and when I finally saw the first movie, I fell in love with it, and eventually I was able to go and I begged my mom to go and take me to an FYE and buy these movies. And she saw that, she was like, okay, I'm not going to like prevent him from watching it. He's going to find a way. And he seems to really, really be into this stuff. So luckily my mom's pretty cool after a little bit of wearing down, I guess. But we went out and we bought all the Texas Chainsaw movies that we could find. One of them was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And when I saw TCM 2, it was so different from anything else that the first movie represented.
Yes.
It was funny. It was comedically brilliant to me. I was a kid. I don't know why I found it so funny, but like the scene where they're in the truck at the beginning and they're holding up the dead body, Nubbins, which is the movie, and Leatherface is dancing around with him while getting shot at. It's just so funny to me, and just the absurdity of it. It always just resonated with me that these characters are horror movie characters that seem so far out there, but there's nothing inherently supernatural about them.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really anything that's like that says in our world these people can't exist except for just how straight up zany they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's what really attracted me to the movie in the first place. And over the years, I would go back and forth about which one was my favorite, the first one or the second one. And it really, really is a hard tie sometimes because I do love the seriousness and the commentary behind the first one and what it means about what it says about the Texas butchering industry, the meat industry and everything. And Tobe Hooper's message behind it. And then TCM2 comes in and you got guys like Bill Moseley playing Chop Top, who is just brilliant in it. And I just think that overall performances, set dressing, character work, and writing in general, I think I just love TCM2 to the moon, man. It's such a good.
I mean, was there a point where you learned that like fans of the series, at least when it came out, there was a huge backlash to it because of how much of a swerve away from the first movie it was?
Well, because he came about it backwards, though, right? You went from 4 to 1, and then I guess to 2 and 3. Is that how you watched them?
Yeah, I went from I definitely watched the fourth one first,
Right.
And so that I think that also probably helped with me getting an advantage on seeing it. It might have tainted or skewed my view of Texas Chainsaw as a series because the fourth is also a horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it got panned way harder than TCM2 did. But it's also goofy. It's not as outrageous and zany as 2, but it is still outrageous and zany.
Yeah.
And so seeing that one first, maybe I kind of, got into it and thinking that, oh, this series can be serious or it can be funny. So I guess that with that in mind, that's probably why I was so okay with that and wasn't like hating it like a lot of audience members
Yeah,
did
because
back
if you went to see it in 1986, Texas Chainsaw is a classic that's been out for 12 years. And so your idea of what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just this one thing. And suddenly you see the movie and it being from the same director, you're like, oh my God,
Right.
can you even imagine what kind of fucked up shit he's going to deliver to us? And then it's this. And it is fucked up and crazy and grotesque, but it's like in totally unexpected ways. And the movie that I most related to, the reason I'm wearing this Gremlins 2 shirt is it reminds me of Gremlins 2, which was after this movie, but that's Joe Dante returning to make a sequel long after the original. And he's like, well, if I have to go make a sequel to my old thing that I'm best known for, I'm going to do everything I ever wanted to do. And I'm not going to conform to any like studio expectations or audience expectations. So that's what this movie's so special because of that. And,
This was someone with like carte blanche, right? And is it your understanding that this is what he wanted? He wanted number one to be more like,
No.
or the thought was just like, I will only be interested in this project if I can do something completely different with the same characters. I love that.
Why go back and repeat myself? We've covered so many of these horror directors recently who were like, I didn't want to be defined by Wes Craven, didn't want to be defined first by Last House on the Left and then Nightmare on Elm Street. Sean Cunningham didn't want to be defined by Last House on the Left and Friday the 13th. Tobe Hooper doesn't want to be defined by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if I'm going to go back, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to do the unexpected.
Kind of reminds me of like Treehouse of Horror when Bob's Burgers dares to do something completely different with the family, and it makes me so fucking upset.
All right, well, Treehouse of Horror is The Simpsons.
Yeah, I know that.
All right, well, people are going to
asshole.
riot when they hear you say
I
that.
said, or Bob's Burgers when they
Okay.
take something complete, take the exact same members of the family and totally change the way that they look, the way they interact, what you can expect from them. Anyway, I accept it in movie form. Do not accept it in animation series form. Sorry. Reject it.
You're one of the people who doesn't like the Simpsons Halloween
Don't
episodes.
like when they're
you're weird
different.
like that.
I am weird.
But you had never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Laci, until a year ago when we watched it.
And it fucking like moved me to tears. Like I loved it. Like I fell in love with Leatherface. I felt so deeply for the confusion he must have been experiencing and the abuse and then the loneliness and I thought it was great.
Which surprised me. I was assuming you weren't going to like it because
slow.
it's slow. It's 70s.
I don't mind it.
I find you or in the past have
I've evolved.
chafed against 70s movies because they have sort of a slower energy.
I just need the women to put the fucking bras on and then I'm in. Okay.
There's women without bras and it's just we're hanging out in a van. We're going slow and that's fine.
I don't know. The movie has enough like things all sprinkled in of just like, what is going on here? That it's doing something. It's not too much buildup.
Variety this week released a list of the 100 greatest horror films ever. And the point of lists like that is to get people agitated and talking about it. And this succeeded, but it had like lots of really good film critics. And the number one movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh.
And a bunch of dummies online were like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's boring. Brr.
They are dummies.
And every time I watch it, I get closer to like, yeah, I think that I usually say The Shining. If I have to say what's the best English language horror movie, say The Shining, but I think Texas Chainsaw is getting close to maybe vying for that top spot.
Well, and then that just speaks to the power, the goodness, the well doneness of a movie.
Yeah, the well doneness.
It's especially for this kind of movie where you're cooking people.
Yeah.
Is that you can discover something. It can grow in your opinion of it as you watch it. Rather than just, it's my favorite, so I'm so excited for this scene to come up.
You know, JT, when you were talking about being a kid and seeing and wanting to see these movies, reminded me of like way before I ever saw this movie. I just remember seeing the VHS box in the video store and just it being called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was like in my little kid brain, I was like, there's no subtlety about that at all. They're just telling you this is what this is. Like they're not even hiding behind a holiday or it's just people are going to get massacred by a chainsaw in this movie. And it sounded as a result like the scariest movie of all time that I could ever imagine.
Well, and it sounds like true crime,
is
right?
really
Because
funny.
it's something that we refer to things that really happen as is the blah 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 event or the, so there's something that felt more like a document. And don't they treat it that way?
Kind of.
And that's why it just feels like this is an unreported on in the mainstream news thing that only Texans know about. And then this movie plays on that perfectly. Number 2, of like, this is just something real Texans know about. Mm-hmm. Real crazy ones with cowboy
It was like
hats.
your crazy local legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's totally pilled people, and those people are never the same once they think they've. Nothing worse than being not believed after something bad happens to you. So, what is that man's name?
Which one?
Lefty. What's his?
Lefty?
Yeah. What's his?
Dennis Hopper?
No. It doesn't matter. Mr. something.
Lieutenant Ensign.
Okay.
Or what?
That's what I was
Enright.
Enright.
Ensign.
Lieutenant Lefty Enright.
Yeah.
And he's lefty because he hurt his right hand, or I always forget how that. Because he was holding his hand and looking at it. Was he injured Was he in the first one?
No.
But he was acting as though he had hurt him. Maybe I looked at that wrong. I swear he held up his.
I don't know. Do you know this, JT?
No, I always just kind of like assumed that he was named Lefty because of a just, I don't know, stereotypical Texas Ranger type name.
Right, we all have a handle.
Like, I'm sure that if you ask Tobe Hooper, he could probably, write a big, long, detailed story about why his name's Lefty, but he would probably just tell you, don't look too much into it, kid. Like,
I swear, there's a moment where he holds up his hand.
No, he does talk to his hand.
He's got a scar across all these fingers right here, and he's just like, admit it. It implies that he had a run-in with it. He couldn't have.
He's come close to run-ins with them a lot. That is alluded to.
Okay.
That he's been hot on their trail for years.
Yeah, and I think he is them. He's this avenging angel who wants to kill them, but he is exactly like them. Right. He's just this madman, just running around ranting and raving. They just kill people and eat them, and he kills the people who kill the people and eat them.
Well, people just need to be believed, Matt. If just anyone actually believed him, he wouldn't be an alcoholic who fucks chainsaws.
I guess.
Okay.
I guess that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the history of the movie. There's so
look at these
much
sweeties.
that we could do.
Look at these sweeties.
I mean, this was the poster of the movie, which was The Breakfast Club had come out a year earlier, and then they just do the Breakfast Club poster.
Like, why is this so familiar?
Which just should have told people what kind of movie they're about to
Deadpool
watch.
totally. I mean, I guess other movies do this too, but like, that's the only movie I can think of that takes other people's.
Yeah, it's just Deadpool.
Okay. Fuck
Sorry,
you.
I'm being too mean to
You
Laci.
are being kind of spicy, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to work later for me, you know what I'm saying?
Laci.
With sex.
All right, let's talk about Texas, the state of Texas. Because Lawrence Wright, a Texan, wrote in 2017 for The New Yorker, he said, quote, Texans see themselves as a distillation of the best qualities of America. Friendly, confident, hardworking, patriotic, neurosis-free. Outsiders see us as the nation's id, a place where rambunctiousness and disavowed impulses run wild. Texans, it is thought, mindlessly celebrate individualism and view government as a kind of kryptonite that weakens the entrepreneurial muscles. We're reputed to be braggarts, careless with money and our personal lives, a little gullible, but dangerous if crossed, insecure, and obsessed with power and prestige. End quote.
JT, just strap yourself in. I can already tell from Matt's tone that he's on one. We're going to get into postmodernism again? Because I just want to know.
No, I already did that.
All right. Okay.
No, I'm pointing all of this out because I watched this movie 3 times this week and I started to see things. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm seeing things.
Tobe Hooper, a Texan, a lifelong Texan, he's deliberately incorporating all this Texan mythology into this movie, Texas mythology and iconography. Like you have a literal Alamo mural that Dennis Hopper puts his hand up on, and then Davy Crockett's mouth literally bleeds, and then it bursts open and entrails fall out. And I realized this movie is all about reckoning with the actual history of Texas, which is if you went back in time and you met Davy Crockett or you met Sam Houston or Stephen F. Austin, they were all like the Sawyers. They were all like chainsaw wielding lunatics ranting and raving. And like the whole point of Texas was
killing the indigenous.
Yeah, it was like, we'll get the people out of here. We want a place to have slavery, and that's why it got incorporated into the United States. And then there was oil. Let's extract the oil, and that's what the entire history of Texas is.
There's so much room for activities in Texas.
And then, like even in this movie, you have the sort of older school Texans, like the Sawyers, the Leatherface family, but they're like getting pushed out by the two little yuppies at the beginning of the movie, who are this new sort of 80s. Kind of corporate raider sort of Texans coming in. I don't know. There's just all of this stuff is going on in this movie, all this commentary on Texas history. And I think the whole point is it is all basically just killing people, grinding them up, and then feeding it to other people. Yep.
That's literally what it, yep.
That's what it is.
Okay.
And Tobe Hooper, who was 43 years old at the time of this movie. He
looks great for a 43-year-old right there.
He's older in that picture.
Okay.
But he was 30 years old when he made the first Texas Chainsaw movie. And I've watched a bunch of Tobe Hooper movies to get ready for this. And I think I realized, Tobe Hooper might be my guy.
Oh.
I think he just has his movies. I'm going to watch the rest of his movies that I haven't seen, but I've watched The Funhouse and Eaten Alive and Salem's Lot to get ready for this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I just like I think I like his vibe. I think I like the way he makes movies. What do we think about Tobe Hooper, JT?
I think that I actually have eggshells right here.
His very first movie.
Yeah,
I love the poster.
And his first ever. He made a short film that was like 10 minutes long. So as far as Tobe Hooper goes, I really have only seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, I believe. I haven't really delved too far into his filmography.
Not even Poltergeist?
But I have seen Poltergeist, but I actually don't like Poltergeist. I don't like that movie. But I do see where you're coming from as far as like him saying that, or as far as him trying to capture Texas in his movies. Because I also notice a lot of that with other Texan directors like Richard Linklater, who his movies are they're more modern than Hooper's, but they're just like undoubtedly Texas, and Texas kind of feels like a different country.
I was just going to say that.
It's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
Well, what they say, the cliche is like Texas is America, but more so. Or like everything that's true about America is true of Texas, but turned up to 11 or whatever
Bigger.
It is they say.
Right. I mean, yeah, everything's bigger in Texas.
Right.
I was thinking of Linklater because watching Hooper's movie Eaten Alive, I realized like he's really enamored with freaks, basically, with just kind of weird solitary guys who just rant and just talk to themselves. And Linklater loves that as well. Like Slackers. A slacker, that's kind of what the whole movie is. It's just going from ranting guy to ranting guy.
A geography like Texas, though, don't you think it would create that? There's enough cities that you don't have to be completely isolated, but with so much room, with so much space between civilization, I feel like if you're a Texan who's exploring all of Texas, you're not just like a Houston. I feel like that might be a little different. You run into these people at roadside attractions or just a store in the middle of nowhere, and you just think that guy eats people. It's
the frontier mentality. Like I'm just out here at a house by myself and there's no one for hundreds of miles around me.
And the kind of person that would choose that kind of solitude could just be on the spectrum or it could be hiding something. I mean, there's a lot of mystery in a person who would choose that, I think.
Yeah.
Or he's Matt Stokes.
I mean, yeah.
Those two things. Yeah.
Not that I'm not. Yeah. There's this book of essays about Tobe Hooper's movies that I've been reading from, Classical Form of Tobe Hooper by Scout Tafoya. And I like this quote about this movie. Quote, Hooper didn't want to make another Texas Chainsaw, but if he was going to combat the things that actually scared him. In this case, a burgeoning yuppie class in cinema eaten alive by cliche. The second Chainsaw movie is about predatory capitalism winning the war against the middle and lower classes. It starts with the murder of two Hughesian yuppies right out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and ends with a woman killing her hippie stalker. Classes and generations were at war and nobody was winning. End quote.
Woman killing her is.
Yeah, Chop Top is a hippie, and he's a hippie who went to Vietnam and got mangled.
Yeah, I got that, but I guess I don't think of him as a stalker. He keeps calling her his fave, but like we've got no other evidence that he's been stalking her.
Well, he's stalking her over the course of 24.
He's a far out fan.
He
Okay,
really
yes.
dives in.
We'll write to the author and say he's
Far
not.
out.
That's unfair to call him a stalker. He's just a fan.
Please tell the writer I said.
Tobe Hooper grew up in Austin, Texas. He went to the University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns.
Hook 'em horns.
He was on campus in 1966 when Charles Whitman went up into the tower and shot people with a.
Holy shit.
He was literally like watched it happen.
Wow.
And then like another director we've recently covered, Wes Craven, his path to directing was entirely outside of Hollywood. And like Wes Craven had started in academia, and then he just worked in the film production industry in Texas in like whatever job would have him. Worked on documentaries and stuff all the way until he made his first feature film, Eggshells, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. One of the most influential and important movies of all time, basically. Produced completely independently outside of Hollywood, made for under $100,000. It ended up earning more than $30 million. And at the same time that New Hollywood was happening, that Martin Scorsese and Terrence Malick and Brian De Palma and Francis Ford Coppola were making all their important movies, this movie came out and is just as important, if not more important, in terms of the influence it had on future filmmakers and the industry. And it's just an insanely great movie, and it climbs in my estimation every time I watch it. So that, you know, when Variety says it's the greatest horror movie of all time, like I can't really disagree.
Did you want to?
I wanted to.
I know you love disagreeing with Variety.
I certainly think it's one of the most important, like for sure.
What are your top
Because
three?
I read
JT, do you have your top whatever horror movies are? Like, are you a list guy like Matt is? You don't have to be. I hate when anyone asks me a question like that on the spot.
probably TCM2, and these are like kind of interchangeable.
Sure.
To be honest, probably TCM2 and TCM1. I kind of count them together.
Cheater. Okay.
And then The Lost Boys.
Okay.
And American Werewolf in London.
I have not seen American Werewolf.
Oh, it's so good.
Is that the older one, or they interchanged the names, and then there's another movie that sounds just like it, right?
An American Werewolf in Paris?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, London is the old one that's good.
Well, okay, so the one with Bush as a soundtrack.
Yeah, I remember that's the one from the 90s,
good.
An American Werewolf in Paris, which I think is supposed to be an unofficial sequel.
I would
But
hope.
yeah,
It's
An American Werewolf in
affiliated.
London is great. Yeah, it's similar vibes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is it's a little bit goofy,
Okay, I'm in.
but a little more straightforward. But yeah, no, we should watch that.
Fuck yeah. Well, I like JT's other top one, so I feel like why not?
So after Texas Chainsaw, he makes a movie called Eaten Alive, where a Texas Chainsaw-esque man owns a motel that people keep coming up to, and he's like, and then kills them with a scythe, and then throws them to his pet crocodile. And then he adapts Stephen King's Salem's Lot, which I watched last week, and it is actually great.
And it's not Pet Cemetery, is what you're telling me.
It's not Pet Cemetery. He made The Fun House in 1981, also great. Just a movie set at an amusement park with some carnival freaks. He loves freaks in amusement parks.
This guy knows settings. That is something I noticed right away, and I'm not really one to notice these things. Set pieces, the radio station. It looked like it was in the world of Beetlejuice, like the afterlife. Just the glowing doors, and like it looks like it's held up by like toothpicks. It looks like it's decaying, but it's still homey, and there's layers to it. And then, oh my God, just the entire feeling of being in the Sawyers, their name's Sawyer, the Sawyers home, like their dirt world.
Yeah, their dirt world.
It's magical. This man understands place.
And I think a thing he's great at is sound and ambient sound. And there's always he did the score for this movie. He's a musician, and music is very important in his movies. And in his movie Eaten Alive, there's just a radio station playing throughout the entire movie, and it's like not on the soundtrack of the movie. It's like the camera is picking up a radio playing music, and it adds this creepiness. And that's happening here too. You hear music coming from all kinds of different sources, and then there's even a marching band at one point. So it's just, I think just those details just put you in the world and capture this world. You really feel like I'm in Texas in 1986.
Well, he's got a knack for showing you like the innocent running parallel to to someone's worst day, right? Like that my whole obsession with like what's on the TV when you're getting raped or murdered or something or attacked, and then that's just forever the sinister thing, even though it's just an innocent commercial. How those things get paired. So the marching band in that scene, and then like everyone having a great time in that hotel. Although when she shows up in the hotel, I'm like, the danger are those boys.
Yeah.
You need to get in with that old alcoholic. He will keep you safe. But just I love the like everydayness with the someone's worst moment. I don't know.
That's another thing he's good at throughout these movies that I've noticed is just like a woman being alone with a man can be the scariest thing in the world. Like even before there's like when Stretch is alone with Chop Top, even before she knows.
God.
I mean, hey, he looks dangerous, but even before she knows he's a murderer, she's like, oh fuck.
That's definitely the scariest part of this movie for me. But she's, I never know what I'm going to think of screaming, but her scream was amazing. Let me just say, this is my favorite final girl of any movie I've ever seen. Stretch is the one for me. I love her name. I love everything about her. She had such Jamie Lee vibes, but just does everything. There's just a cleverness and a fucking tomboy, but sex. I don't know. I loved everything.
She's like a few years older than the usual heroine of stalker movies. She has a job and she is proactive in a way that the others aren't. She's not.
Oh yeah, she's seeking.
She goes and hunts for them, which is usually the final girl is being chased.
And she's got ambition. This is not like a moral thing for her. It kind of turns into one, but she's Gail Weathers during it, which is also one of my favorite final girls if we can count her. Guess that we will count her.
Stretch is very comic book. She's very comic book. She's very Lois Lane, April O'Neil.
Right.
Because she has bigger dreams than running the radio station.
Exactly.
She wants to be an actual reporter. She wants to break a real story. And this is her way to break a real story. So she's got that ambition and that attitude to go out and hunt that down.
I love that comparison. Yeah, that's a good. Who those two characters are not like stock damsel in distress. They're comic book characters who are not superheroes, but they are proactive. They do get shit done. They are heroes in their own way,
and they have
that's
instincts.
what she is too.
Right. They might need a little help every now and then. I also like. I mean, I guess you could say Lefty is who saves her. I thought she was dead. But there's a part of it. They make it also feel like there was so many moments where she almost got herself free, and then does that. It's not a damsel situation, which it often isn't with a final girl.
All right. Well, I guess we can get into the discussion of the movie now, I guess. Do you have any opinions about like the remakes or any of the Texas Chainsaw movies made after 2000?
Yeah, so the 2003 remake, the Michael Bay one, is really fun. It captures the vibe of the original pretty well, I feel like, but it also modernizes it and makes it a early 2000s horror, like slasher horror movie.
So the Michael Bay one is good. I've heard that. I might give it a chance.
And then the one after that, which is a prequel to that one, like a direct prequel, like it's got like the same actors and stuff in a lot of instances. It's called the Texas Chainsaw. I think it's called Leatherface. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The beginning is pretty good. It's one of those. It's kind of like in the same vein of like Hannibal Rising. Have you ever seen that one? So it's a little bit slower because it's more like building the backstory of the family. And then in 2013 they made Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is mid. And then they made, I think in like 2016, one that was just called Leatherface, which I actually haven't seen. And then in 2022, Netflix made the god awful worst thing that has ever happened to that series that I refuse to acknowledge the existence of.
Oh, what was it called?
Was it just Texas Chainsaw?
I think it was just Texas Chainsaw, or maybe it was just Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not good, and it's bad on all sorts of levels. It's the writing is flawed, the character acting is terrible, the CGI effects are really dreadful. It's just not a good movie.
This series is, I've only seen 1, 2, and 4, and 4 was a long time ago, but to me, I guess I need to reserve judgment until I see all of the rest of them. But unlike the other slasher franchises, this one seems so director driven in my head, at least, that like or it's like the level of difficulty I think is higher because this is so specific, the vision he has, that it's hard for someone else to come along and recreate it. And it's much easier to recreate a Friday the 13th or Halloween than it is to do this.
Well, because he's very smartly made there no formula. You don't know where he'd go with the third one, or, you couldn't step in his shoes.
Yeah, the formula is the way I direct movies.
Right. It's whatever I'm into at the time, buddy.
Well, I think it also goes back to what you were saying about how like the first two are like they're movies that are just almost as much about Texas as they are about this crazy family that are chopping people up and killing them. And the thing is that I find that the later movies don't do is they don't capture Texas. Texas isn't a character in those movies like it is in the original. And like with the first one, it was, you said with the second one that it was, kind of a commentary on like, corporations coming in and the sort of neon 80s era kind of ruining traditional Texas values. And the first movie was kind of like that, with it being a commentary on the industrialization of the meat industry and the slaughter industry, and how it put, the reason that the Sawyer family exists is because they were put out of work and driven to desperation because of the industrialization of the slaughter industry. So when they, the hitchhiker even explains it in the first one, where they talked about how now they use that gun that puts a bolt in a cow's brain instead of a sledgehammer. Well, they don't need a bunch of men swinging sledgehammers anymore, so they laid a bunch of people off, including the Sawyer's grandpa. And that's why they're so broke and depraved and desperate, and they have this bloodlust now. And the modern movies don't capture that because it's almost like they don't have anything to say.
Exactly.
They don't have anything to commentate on.
Right.
And the forces that gave rise to like this great Texas empire of individualism, of limited government, of very minimal regulation, also are the forces that put out of business people like the Sawyers. Like, we don't need you anymore. And there's no like idea that there's a social good to letting people have jobs or letting this way of life continue. And you're just out on your own. And what do people do when they're out on their own? They start eating each other. I mean, that's you go take it to an extreme to make your point. And that's what I love about these two movies is how much they're commentating on Texas history. And it's like these yuppies at the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the deindustrialization is coming for you guys too. And we're seeing it in our world right now. Is the professional class is also is looking at a future where they're going to be entirely replaced by AI and just cheaper outsourced labor wherever they can find it.
Everything is Fiverr.
Everything is Fiverr. What's Fiverr?
Well, isn't that like a place where people like compete for your business and so you can hire someone at the lowest possible price? It's just like, that seems like it's going to give opportunity, but like, think about it for 2 minutes. It's like, no, this is just going to exploit the most people. Yeah. Cool.
So, like the first movie, this movie opens with a scroll, and this is something I'm obsessed with that I'm sure will bore both of you. And it's a Beetlejuice situation. It's on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first movie poster. The word chainsaw is one word, but in the movie, it's Texas Chain Space Saw Space Massacre. But then Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, chainsaw is one word. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a journey.
Makeup by Tom Savini. We see that in the opening credits. This has like maybe my favorite horror makeup in any movie.
It is fucking, it's so realistic. When the man stands up after being skinned, oh my God.
I know.
It's so good.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll praise all of the individual makeup, but right when you see that name in the opening credits, you're like, okay, I'm in good hands now. He did Dawn of the Dead. He did Friday the 13th.
Gotcha.
And he's the actor from From Dusk Till Dawn who has the robot penis, or the metal penis.
See,
whatever it
AI.
was. Yeah.
AI replacing us right there.
Exactly. And then just one more thing. Is Dennis Hopper the biggest name to ever appear as a lead in a slasher movie?
Has to be. I mean, because you said, did you say Matthew McConaughey's in the fourth one?
But that was before he was.
That was before, yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be because like you got Courtney Cox in Scream.
I think, but like Dennis Hopper's like an Oscar nominated actor and director. I mean, now his career is like, okay, Dennis Hopper at this point, I have a little career overview of him. And so he's like he's like a character actor in like golden age Hollywood movies. Like if you watch Rebel Without a Cause, you're like, that's Dennis Hopper right there with James Dean. But then he becomes like a counterculture icon with Easy Rider, which he writes and directs, and becomes a big movie star. And then he has like well-known substance abuse problems. He's using 3 grams of cocaine a day and drinking 30 beers a day and is a nightmare on every set he works in. And soon he can only work in like Australia. But then he gets his act together in 1983 and gets sober. And I feel like this movie is like the remnants of the I just go get a paycheck to make. Because he said this is the worst movie he's ever been in. I don't think he ever actually watched the movie. But this same year, it's an incredible year. He's in Blue Velvet, which is probably like the Dennis Hopper role. And then he's also in Hoosiers, which he gets nominated for an Oscar for. So he's like fully back. So it's just funny that in one year he has those 2 movies and then also Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is a great movie, but is not received like a great movie at the time.
Right.
Anyway, after that, he's like back as you know, at least very bankable character actor in Hollywood.
I don't know enough about slasher movies to know the answer to that.
Okay.
But yeah.
You're not usually seeing big names like this.
As soon as I saw it, I'm like, what? Well, now I'm going to pay attention to the next names. I'm like, don't know any of these people. It went straight to where I expected it to go.
Only thing I think I would really like, I don't know, rebuttal to that though, is that like, as far as like film goes, yes, Dennis Hopper is clearly more celebrated, but because of movie or of shows like Friends and stuff,
yeah,
I think that in the pop culture, like lexicon, Courtney Cox is probably more well known.
She would have been a huge pull. Because I would have thought Drew Barrymore was the one, but after you and me went over her filmography before Scream 1, it's like, no, that wouldn't make sense, as Courtney Cox would have been the big pull. Yeah,
but I think that there was more then than there is now. There's like but she's a TV actress. This is motion pictures, baby.
Yeah,
can you hang out here? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Courtney Cox was probably more famous than Dennis Hopper. But okay, so it's between those two. We're agreeing.
Fair.
And he's like a spice in the movie. He's not the most important thing. And you can tell he's like, I don't even think he's giving it his all. He's just kind of Dennis Hoppering all over the movie.
I don't even think he totally knows he's supposed to like Stretch. Like, I know he's just kind of supposed to be unpredictable and unwieldy, but like there's a couple scenes where I'm like, I don't think you know how you're supposed to be treating this person. This is not computing at all, but it works to like set the tone for like this movie is unpredictable.
It works so well with the tone the movie has.
Yes. It's like, wait, you just said you wanted to be believed. You said you wanted for the newspaper to get people to you that could help you. And then that happens and you are so annoyed with it.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
You
it's
just
so
asked
weird.
for this.
But I know this is not what's happening, but this made me think of like when Steven Seagal is paid $1 million to appear in one scene of a straight to Redbox movie. He's in more than one scene of this movie, but he's in way less of it than I remembered. Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, I mean the weight of the movie is definitely on Stretch's shoulders, and I mean, and basically you just have him popping in and out to give you a little bit of hope he's going to be helpful. But as soon as he shows up, she falls in a hole, and then the rest of the time you just see him sawing beams, sawing at a beam, sawing a beam.
So we meet the 2 most unlikable victims of slashers in movie history. I think are these 2 motherfuckers.
I'm terrified of them.
I know.
The gun shooting randomly at mailboxes and just into the void. I mean, as a city child, you're taught to be so fearful of guns because, you know, you're in a small space. But that people do that at all in the openness, I'm just like, this guy cannot be trusted ever.
No.
Also, he would definitely murder whoever he was planning on sleeping with in the hotel he was. I mean, this murder and car crash stopped crimes. I'm convinced. I am. Fuck, those guys needed to be killed.
It was a
good choice.
They did good in the world that day. But like, okay, right away, we're big contrast from the earlier movie. This is North Texas. This isn't South Texas, and this isn't rural, isolated Texas. They're headed for Dallas, where, you know, biggest city or you know, one of the two big giant cities in Texas. This Texas State Fair is this weekend because that's when Texas plays Oklahoma. Texas and Oklahoma play every year in the Red River Shootout in Dallas, which is halfway between Norman, Oklahoma and Austin, Texas.
Right, because Stretch is in Oklahoma.
No, she's in North Texas, but the station is K-Okla.
Oh,
but she keeps saying the name. I forgot the name of the city she's in, the town she's in.
Yeah.
Bow Bridges, Texas or whatever. It's not something like that. But she says I'm from the top of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. But this is, you know, the whole giant rivalry. All of this part of the country descends upon Dallas for this weekend, which, guys, is this weekend. Texas plays Oklahoma tomorrow.
That's weird.
Can you believe it?
I cannot. JT, did you do that on purpose?
He did.
He didn't know when we were going to tell him to do the episode.
He just knew.
That's crazy.
All I'm saying is I ain't going to be on the road to nowhere, baby. I'm on the road to Texas.
That's right.
Do you want to know what the score of the Texas-Oklahoma game was in 1986?
666.
Yes, it was 666. A third team entered the arena and scored 6 points.
Shut up.
No, Oklahoma beat Texas 47-12. Texas was having a down year that year. Oh.
Okay, thank you for that information, Matt.
All right, well, this guy has a 1986 car phone, and that rules.
That is what the car phone that is in the Sawyer brothers' car is a landline with a spiral cord.
Yeah.
And then it's such a non-sophisticated car that he doesn't have an in-dash radio. He has a boom box. So why the fuck does he have a phone?
I love that, though.
This movie is so ahead of its time with several different things. Or it's like it's so on time. I can't decide. But it knows things are coming.
It knows. It's seeing things.
It knows. Yeah.
And they decide to play chicken with a pickup truck because they're assholes. Except
you pick the wrong pickup.
It's the Sawyers. Were the Sawyers? They weren't named the Sawyers in the first movie, were they?
Did they have names in the credits?
They had names.
Huh.
It was just like Hitchhiker, Cook, Leatherface.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
So like Tom Sawyer then?
I mean, I think it's like a Sawyer.
The only reason that we know their names at all in this movie is because of the scene with the chili cook-off,
right,
where learn the cook's name is Drayton Sawyer.
Right.
Which is, that's just a wonderful name. Drayton Sawyer. Because it's kind of a
very
Game of Thrones. Sounds like Game of Thrones name Drayton.
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 I mean, it sounds kind of like aristocratic.
Yeah. It sounds more important than he is.
Well, but they are aristocrats. I was thinking like this like there could be a mural of Leatherface in 200 years. Who knows what the future holds? He could be founding his own nation. But they call the radio station because we cut and we meet Stretch, and Laci got so angry at this idea that
you can't tie up a line by staying on a phone. You just hang up on them.
I tried to Google and I could not find an answer to this because to phrase this is like impossible in Google. What would happen if you didn't hang up a phone call? Couldn't get it.
Can they tie up the line by staying on your line?
Right.
You can't.
Do you want to get online?
Hang up.
But this is something that I was told as a kid would happen, but I always thought it wasn't true. Do you know, JT? Do you have the answer?
Okay. But it doesn't drive you crazy that the whole time she's begging them to get off the phone, when it's like, that's the whole power of every other scary movie person, every woman that ever gets a fucking gross phone call. You just do that.
I think that it wasn't so much the fact that Stretch could just simply hang it up. I think it's because it's a phone that's tied into a radio station, tied into a broadcast, that it has to be more back in. That's why she's like telling LG to get it, and he's like, "I'm trying, darling," and like he's just fumbling with the words. I think there's got to be a way for them to actually end the call and cut the line, but because it's such a complex process of the phone call being recorded into
and then
a broadcast
broadcasted.
channel.
I see what you're saying. She can hang up the line, but then that still gives the people on it access to speak on the radio because they haven't hung up. So okay, that actually,
I think that makes sense. I think that like this, because it's radio, this is like an older like switchboard style phone system because you see him plugging those little things into the pegboard.
So her doing this is actually more just like to signal what she wants to do to the producer, to the engineer. It's not actually doing the work of hanging up.
A home phone in 1986, you wouldn't have had this problem, but at a radio station, it's a different story.
Man, you guys are smart.
This is one of the great radio movies, I think, of all time.
This and Airheads, yes,
and Private Parts.
Private Parts.
But yeah, I love spending all this time in the radio station. I was just taking stills and looking at the equipment and just like, oh, look at that.
Oh my God, man.
Look at those little plugins.
Shut up.
It kind of leans itself to that she's also stuck there on the midnight shift with LG, because I feel like they're probably there on like the late shift a lot, and he's probably not used to having to like be on his toes a whole awful lot because they're probably not getting a whole awful lot of calls.
Right. He's not really having to multitask all the time.
Yeah. She says, I know no one's listening at a certain point. And it's like he likes her. He has a crush on her. She's not interested in him. But she has a
soft spot.
But she has to like, navigate that. How can I be nice to him without saying, come hither and fuck me, please?
Right. Because the next guy that comes will just be aggressive and into her instead of a little pussycat that's into her. It's like, just fuck the devil,
So Caroline Williams is the actress who plays Stretch, and she is wonderful in this movie. We meet Lefty, Dennis Hopper. We talked about Hopper, and he's the uncle of Sally and Franklin from the first movie, and he's now this weird avenging angel who doesn't actually seem to care about his niece and nephew. He just wants to hunt down and kill these chainsaw people in a very specific way, which is with chainsaws. That
seems to have come to him through this journey. I don't know that he always had a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Thought.
I love the way the other cop reacts to him.
They're like, here's this fucking guy again. Yes. There's some sharp edges in this murder. Okay, it's a chainsaw.
And the cop's like, I have the authority from the DA to put you on a plane back to Amarillo.
The DA? Why would they? Is he that much of like a meddler that he's...
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Because they know that he's like going around Texas chasing after these, news of any crime scene or any accident scene. He shows up and he's like, looks like the chainsaw people. But I love we're going to put you on a plane back to Amarillo. And he's like, will you go just do that, son? I'd love to see that authority.
The bags under his eyes. I'm thinking, is this old Dennis Hopper up to his old ways, or is this good makeup? He really does seem disheveled in this scene. Mm-hmm. She's like, you caught me mid drinking. If you were really that drunk, though, wouldn't you have taken your suspenders off? I'm just saying. Are we comfortable?
Yeah, when Stretch goes to visit him at his hotel, because the cop is like the cop to placate him is like, okay, we'll put in the newspaper that if anybody knows anything about this weird chainsaw car accident to contact Lieutenant Lefty
at this hotel. This room.
Yes.
At the hotel.
Yes, at the hotel.
The La Quinta Inn, rooms 475.
And Stretch does. She shows up. But he, for some reason, is like, fuck you, bitch. I don't want your help.
You making fun of me? He seems like excited that she's an eyewitness. And then she's like, I'm an ear witness. That ain't a thing. No, we got eyeballs in this town. Fuck off, cutie. Or whatever he says to her.
He's like worried she's going to don't get in my way. My little sister, don't get in my way.
I don't get it. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just odd. It adds.
He's a lunatic.
The mystique. He's unwell. Yeah. How's he getting paid?
He's not.
Who's paying him?
Who's bankrolling this operation?
Because he used to be a Texas Ranger. Is that it? Is that what he said?
Did they say Texas Ranger? He's a lieutenant.
I don't know if it's ever specified, but he sure acts like a dishonored Texas Ranger.
Yes. Like, and isn't he kind of dressed as like, there's a certain look of people who have like jurisdiction over the in-between parts, right? Isn't that what a ranger does? Like,
Yeah, kind of.
It's the unmanned areas that I man.
It's the holdover from frontier times. Like I range, I go around this a wide open space, but he is like from a different time. He's like this marauding guy who he has no specific area that's his. He just goes wherever he needs to go.
I'm just gonna Google Walker Texas Ranger real quick. You guys go.
And he talks to his hand. He's like, I ain't got no fear, Lord. This isn't where he tells her about the thing with.
He doesn't tell her shit, and this is
no. He does. Later, he says, these people, they thrive on fear. You can't have any fear around you. And she listens to that, and that's how she's able to deal with them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then we go to the chili cook-off where LG has made this amazing tower of fries. And then
that's so many. He would have had to have lots of orders to make that.
He had a lot of time to kill. And the chili cook-off is won by Mr. Drayton Sawyer. Who we now see on camera, and we see, oh my God, that's the actor from the first movie. In fact, he's the only actor from the first movie. This is Jim Sedow, who was not in a great many things. He was mostly a community theater guy, but he gives two incredible performances in these two movies. He's so amazing here. There's no performance like this in movies. And he just starts he wins first place prize for his chili, and he just gives a speech, and he's like, "This town loves prime meat," and the crowd reacts like he's Hulk Hogan. They're like, "Fuck yeah,
that's our identity.
We love that."
I just love the idea that a chili cook-off trophy would just be full of your own chili.
It's gross.
Here we go.
It's like it's the Stanley Cup. They pour,
shake it all around.
They pour the chili into it.
The Stanley Cup were full of hockey player urine, though. It's like
they pour beer into it.
Oh, okay, but everyone likes beer.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess everyone likes chili. Whatever. It's
fun fact.
What?
Drayton Sawyer also has a car phone in his van.
That's what I was talking about. That van does not make sense because it doesn't have an in-dash radio. It has a boombox, yet it's advanced enough to have a fucking phone. That's why I'm saying he put a landline in there.
Because he's an entrepreneur. He has this shitty old van that doesn't even have a radio, but he's like, oh, it looks like car phones are a new thing people have.
But you go look at his house and you're like, okay, you're kind of a guy that puts some shit together, huh?
Yeah.
You kind of just find parts and make it work, don't you? This guy, look at this guy. This actor had to just be local. He just had to show up. Oh, my dick. The chainsaw salesman. He's having just the cutest phone call ever when he walks in and just, you being a real witch's titty, ain't you? And I don't even know where you're
you're getting as mean as a steam bat, Cecile. I wrote that down.
That's no way to talk. Now you need to calm down. And then he just hangs up.
He's the proprietor of Cut Right Chainsaws. I don't know if chainsaw stores are a thing, but they are in this movie. And this is the Tobe Hooper touch. Whoever the hell this guy is who plays the chainsaw store guy,
he's amazing.
Looks like a real person you would see in the world. He doesn't look like an actor. He looks like a real chainsaw store guy.
This was a real chainsaw store that they shot this at.
Oh my God.
It's called Cut Right Chainsaws.
Okay, perfect.
And it is now in modern day a bar, and they actually still have the Cut Right Chainsaw sign on the inside.
Ooh,
very cool. That was
do you know where
smart
it is?
Purchasing.
Can we go there, Lacey?
I don't remember in this version of the movie, the Vinegar Syndrome one. They have this guy that goes around to do movie locations and stuff, and a couple of the boutique labels have hired him because he's done Halloween as well for the Scream Factory Halloween releases, and he went to this area. The thing about this movie is a lot of it was shot out and about in the state, and a lot of the stuff is not there anymore because it's just been, at the time when this movie was shot, Texas was just starting to really industrialize and incorporate and everything. And so now a lot of those locations are gone and it's really hard to find them. But this Cut Right Chainsaw store is, as far as I know, as far as when this was, that special was recorded for this, what is still there. And it's a bar.
Was that a real radio station? Do you know?
It had to be.
I think so.
It's so perfectly
It's not
shit.
there anymore.
Okay.
But
there's a
it's not a
gun.
set.
They did go to around where it was.
So I thought that this scene with having the chainsaw store was some kind of commentary on like the ease of access of guns and like the overuse of them. Like even in the uppy scenes in the beginning, if you look at the gun he's holding and the way he's holding it, it looks exactly like one of those way too silver shiny cap guns. It looks like a toy, and he's using it like a toy, but it's a murderous weapon. So the fact that there's a gun store at the bottom of even the fucking radio station is so funny to me.
Yeah.
So my thought is like, well, there's a gun store everywhere. Look at how quickly you can buy one of these giant chainsaw. That's what I thought this was a standard.
Yeah, and then and like Dennis Hopper's going in and he's just
like,
using them like swords, and the chainsaw store salesman is just like, this is crazy. All right, then, on your way.
What does he say about his dick though? Like, oh, my dipstick.
Oh, my aching banana.
That's
And
this is the second time that chainsaws are used as a phallic symbol for sexual repression, and
that's coming up with Leatherface.
that is. There's something sweet about it. What's wrong with me?
No, it is sweet.
It is sweet.
But yeah, I think this is my favorite scene of the movie is Dennis Hopper going nuts on the tree outside with the chainsaws, and in just such a bizarre way, just like stabbing it and violently slicing it. And the guy who owns the store is like in ecstasy and horror at the same time.
My car is parked really close to this.
And fun fact, Dennis Hopper was just doing this already, and they just rolled camera.
This is like his Matthew McConaughey thing of like, oh, this is just something
This is how he gets hyped up for scenes
during takes. I love how the way he uses them doesn't even make sense for what he's trying to do. It's not even the most effective way to really cut something good.
Yeah.
In fact, the entire movie, chainsaws are used as like swords instead of. Everything is a stab, and when it's sawing stuff, and it's just to waste time or to give somebody time. But every time they use them for hurting, it's push.
Yeah,
push.
It makes it's not the practical way you would do it. But these guys are all just theatrical, and left. Stretch transforms into that at the end of the movie when she's victorious and does a little dance with the chainsaw.
I love her dance.
I do actually that chainsaw dance at the end of the movie is really interesting because that was one of the first things they tried to film. And Caroline Williams said in an interview that that was like the first time she held a chainsaw for the movie. And she had no practice and she couldn't get it down. And she just kind of told Tobe, like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't do this. And he apparently got really mad and was like, well, go the fuck home then. And apparently she did went back to the hotel and thought she was fired, but then got a call sheet the next day and came back. And then they let her shoot it later. And throughout the entire time that in between there, she was practicing with chainsaws and got really fucking good at wielding one.
Oh.
And so that's why that scene looks so good. And I'm just like, man, I get that directors are dicks, but that's really shitty.
That's really shitty.
Absolutely.
I don't like to hear that.
Absolutely. Also, just bad filmmaking. I know the logistics and everything, but that is something that I feel like you have to build to in your character to even understand what she's doing there. If it's just, hey, I don't even get who this character is or what this movie is. Okay, go dance around with a chainsaw.
I know she's just supposed to mimic the first one.
Fundamentally didn't know. Fundamentally, she didn't know who Stretch was at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
It took her a while to get to really engulf herself in all of the attributes that this character has and all of these experiences that she is and traumas that she has experienced to really get that.
I imagine for a director, it's really hard to even put into words what she's experiencing right there. It's just, you have to just watch this story to get it.
Right. She's been driven a little mad too. And this is, or just everyone needs a release after some, it's just the same as getting the sillies out. You're just going to go, whoa, that just happened. Yeah.
So Lefty goes to the radio station. He decides he does need her after all. Can you play that tape over the radio?
Can you put yourself in mortal danger from completely sneaky psychopaths who function in the night and get away with all their murders? And I'll be around.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not going to stay here with you.
No. I got things to do. I got to go fuck chainsaws.
And she's like, yeah, okay, no problem. So she does. She plays it, and then Drayton hears it on the radio because he gets a call on his car phone from his brothers. Before he answers the call, he's just ranting by himself. And then
Oh, that's true, right? He finds out from the fan, from his brother, who's a big fan.
He just listens to the radio all day.
No, he listens to her. That's his fave.
That is his fave. But
she's so Texas. She's so local. She's got that draw.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't connect that. Okay, he is a fan then, because no one listens, Matt.
So it's midnight. They're signing off, and Stretch stays at the radio station. Even LG leaves. She's alone.
He wants her to go with him.
Peril. So then a very strange and creepy man shows up. Chop Top. Is he ever named Chop Top in the movie, or is that just the credits?
I don't think so. I don't think he's ever mentioned as Chop Top.
Yeah. And he is when the first time I saw this movie, I had it had been a while since I'd seen Texas Chainsaw 1, and I just assumed he was in the first movie too. Of course he was.
Yeah, I just assumed it as well.
But no, he's not.
Okay.
He's just a new.
There was a big misconception that he was the hitchhiker.
Yeah, I thought he was the hitchhiker. But he's a new guy.
He's not the hitchhiker from the first movie is in this movie, but he's the guy that they're holding up in the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the corpse.
But this new guy, I mean, this is just such a big performance. Shit, I forgot to write the actor's name down.
Matt.
Let me look it up.
He looks very British.
Bill Moseley.
And maybe
Bill Moseley, who's incredible as a insane hippie / I mean, how do we even describe who this guy is?
This name is so familiar, JT. Is this one of the people who do Comic-Cons? Did T indeed talk?
Yeah, he does a lot. He does a lot of con stuff.
Yeah.
He was also Otis Firefly in the Rob Zombie Free from Hell trilogy.
Yep. Because I remember
he's been in tons of horror movies.
I just remember the name, and I remember someone being very excited about seeing him in a Comic-Con, and I thought it was T. Okay, well, our friend, sorry.
He's literally one of my favorite actors of all time.
Oh, wow.
And I have a really fun story that has to deal with him, if you guys want to hear it.
Yes.
Every year there's this festival that they put on a town over from me. It's like a little mini metal festival with a bunch of local bands. Mm-hmm. And they brought in some horror actors and stuff. They brought in Bill Moseley, and I can't remember his name. He's the guy from The Hills Have Eyes, the kind of deformed looking guy. I can't ever remember his name though. But they brought in Moseley, and I had to work that night. I was working at GameStop at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get off of work pretty late, and I end up going to this festival to catch the bands because the headliner was Mushroom Head, which is one of my favorite bands. And Bill Moseley is famously a big metalhead. He famously loves heavy metal. So he was there all night, and by the time I got there, his autograph table had closed. Mm-hmm. And I just assumed, we all assumed that he just left. But I'm like, okay, that kind of sucks. I wanted to meet him and get his autograph and stuff, but I'll just go on and listen to my favorite band and it'll be fine. So we're about 20-30 minutes into Mushroom Head's set, and I'm there with my, at the time, assistant manager of my store, and he nudges me and he's like, look to your left. I'm like, what? And I look over, and Bill Moseley is standing there incognito with a hat and a hood on, mm-hmm. banging his head to the freaking metal. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that's almost better. I didn't say anything to him because I'm like, he's met fans all day that paid him. I'm like, I'm not going to come up to him and ruin his time. But internally I was fangirling, and I was like, this is the most special thing for me as a fan, because mm-hmm. I would rather have this experience than to meet him and get an autograph and a picture.
Yeah,
this is something
absolutely
unique.
Yeah, he's in Army of Darkness. He was in the remake of The Blob. He's in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. He's just got he's just one of those actors. That makes movies so special. Just a character actor, working blue collar actor. Who just pops up, and this is probably, in terms of screen time and number of lines, probably one of his largest roles. And I think he's honestly doing a sort of Dennis Hopper impression of young Dennis Hopper, young hippie Dennis Hopper. Hey man, I'm just here at the radio station, man.
I wonder if he got to make up his disgusting tick habit that he's got, because it's just oh, this is so perfect. Like, we all have weird habits, but this is
How do you
fucking
come up with
beyond.
that? This guy lights a wire hanger, scratches his scalp with it.
Like the skin that is left around his metal plate, he's just slowly eroding it bit by bit, but loves the taste of human flesh so much that he makes a tiny little piece of barbecue meat out of every little singed piece and then eats it.
Mm-hmm. I was going to warn you about that before we watched it, then I decided not to.
There's no way to.
I knew this would upset you.
No, it was great. You're real.
Full of surprises.
It felt real.
So he's like, he corners Stretch and he's like, hey man, I'm just here and I love this radio station. I love you. You're my fave. I meant to look up, is this the origin of fave? But you're my fave.
It's like fave.
My brother and Bubba and I listen to you all the time. And can I have a tour of the radio station? And she's trying to diplomatically get him out of there. And it's not working. And he's just hanging around and it's scary. And then eventually Leatherface leaps out with his chainsaw. And chases
I love her tour though. This is Armadillo. I love her tour.
Yeah, this is Mr. Shark.
And then he's so amused. He should have given it to her. He seems like a guy that likes a gift. He loved Mr. Shark. You hand that to him.
And
now he owes you a favor.
He could use its teeth to scratch.
Oh my God, that'd be perfect. We can't light it though.
That scene, still to this day, even though I know that it's coming, when she turns the light on and Leatherface rips out with the chainsaw, still makes my heart jump every time I see it.
Yep.
Like I'm expecting it, but it's such a good jump scare.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I think, the scariest scene of the movie. Because you don't know what it's going to do with her yet. Mm-hmm. You don't know how far she's going to make it.
I think it's one of the only like legit horror moments in the movie because I don't know. What does that even mean?
Well,
this is the only thing I find really scary.
Yes, because the rest of it is just a little too magical. It all becomes like little monsters. It becomes
nothing but trouble.
Nothing but trouble. Matt, I wanted to say that one. It's very much
Dan Aykroyd saw this movie.
Yes, they just legit ripped it off. He looks just like the fucking guy in the wheelchair. Yeah. I want to say, it's just fun down there. I want to go to a whole theme park that looks like that. Mm-hmm. The Christmas lights, kidding me? So tunnels? I like a tunnel.
Leatherface, when he's wielding his chainsaw, he's not doing it carefully because he saws off his brother's wig and hurts part of his plate.
He's so mad. He dents his plate.
And he shouts, "Nom flashback, nom flashback."
Yeah.
But Stretch reminds herself what Lefty told her. These people live on fear. So when Leatherface corners her, she's like, no, not good.
Yeah, but she's like, you're mad at me? You're not mad at me. I found that like so endearing that her first things to say were just like the most childlike concerns of, you're not actually mad at me. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's very simple, but she is talking to him like a human being, like nobody else does.
Ever.
And he doesn't know what to do with it. And he's trying to give it back to her in the only ways he knows how, which are also very strange and theatrical. But like he goes crazy and starts destroying everything in the radio station, but is not hurting her.
That's so
it's
sweet.
like an animal, like I'm doing a display of dominance.
Well, he knows he has to make a big ruckus and it needs to at least sound like, and he's frustrated. He's like, I've never been torn before. I always just listen to what my brothers asked me to do. But this is the first time I've felt like I want to do something different. So I'm pissed. And I'm not doing what is expected of me. I'm going to pay for this later.
And he's sexually attracted to her and doesn't know what that means or what to do with that. And she's kind of playing along with it in a bizarre way.
Makes him think he had sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when he then goes crazy and starts destroying everything. And then LG comes back to the station at this point and gets hammered to the head.
That is a very disturbing kill. Anytime prolonged blunt trauma happens and I can't even tell what they're doing to him. It seems like he's just chipping away at him, just to the point where he's like, it's just the way they toy with people is so disturbing. And this movie does an amazing trick of not making it so disturbing that you can't enjoy everything else around it, because that truly is just injury, prolonged suffering, torture. That's when I check out. That's why I can't. And in my head, that's what Rob Zombie movies are. So maybe that's why I won't revisit them. But maybe I'm wrong. I just remember seeing them as a teen and going, nope.
Hooper with these movies imbibed the the less is more route,
Mhm.
like Hitchcock, where yes, the set pieces are gory and disgusting, and there is scenes where people's faces are going onto another person's face,
Yeah.
and that's gross. But also, like, you don't brutally see Leatherface
Right.
cutting LG's face off.
Right.
You don't see the hammer when Chop Top is incoming mail.
Exactly.
and
Right.
knocks
No,
him in
You
the
never
head.
see
You
it.
don't see that on.
Yeah, I can handle any kind of gore. It doesn't bother me. It is this hammer to the head where I truly have to look away, even though the movie is not showing the impact. The movie is not showing the hammer hit the head. But for some reason, hammer onto head is the thing that upsets me the most in any horror movie.
I was getting a Diet Coke box off of the top of the refrigerator, and one Diet Coke fell out from this far and hit me on the top of the head. And I was like, I would die instantly from any trauma to the head. That shit fucking hurt. I got a lump.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go tell Matt, and I didn't. I was brave. I didn't go and tell you I got hurt.
Oh, I'd have given you a hug.
I know it. It's a trauma. It's hard.
Are you mad at me? How mad at me are you?
Yeah, right. Are you good? You're good.
How good are you? But he doesn't kill her. He goes back to his brother, and his brother's like, hey, did you kill that bitch?
Get her good?
You dented my plate, y'all son of a bitch. Oh, God.
Oh, Matt, don't get too excited. Okay.
My favorite line in any horror film, period.
Which one?
Chop Top. Whenever LG comes up and he's like, what the shit? And then Chop Top's like, lick my plate, you dog dick. That's just so fucking funny. And then he, when he sends Leatherface after Stretch, he's like, dog will hunt, Leatherface, dog will hunt.
Yeah. Yes.
But the one-liners, they're not clever. They're things that they're just words coming that these people would say. They're unclever, just guttural sounds coming.
Yeah.
You dog dick. Like, we just watched Scream, which is full of people insulting each other with like thesauruses out.
Right.
This is so satisfying.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, so he yells at his brother. He's so happy for his brother that he got that bitch, then instantly gets mad at his brother. You did in my plate. And then goes right back to happy. He's like, you got that bitch good, didn't you?
It's just so you can totally see the dynamic of the family. All they do is one line each other and riz each other, and then praise their grandpa, praise their daddy or whoever. And it's like, but there's no love for each other. We only boss each other around. We only kick each other in the butts. We only laugh when the other one gets hurt. It's just such a hard, relatable, terrible way to. It's a cycle. Who's going to be the first person to stop doing this? No one. So you just never.
It's that Texan individualism. We're all competing against each other. Even your family members. No, you need to kill them. They are competitors for the spoils.
And
They're in your way.
Someone always needs to be to blame. It's constant blame. You idiot! You did this. It's your fault. What the hell? So
But you need to keep them around so they can do the bullshit for you.
I guess. I love this like fucking. Okay, so I guess they run an amusement park. Oh, those are the signs he was shooting up in the beginning. Is like the lead up to this family-run amusement park, and then that's when the brother's like, "Nom land. We need to reinvent this." And he's like, "Well, that's what I've been telling you." Anyway,
see, that's like a modern mythology. We need to. But they're telling me what we did in Vietnam is bad. We need to build an amusement park saying how it's good. Anyway, go on with what you're saying.
Oh, I don't know. She, of course, is one of those parts in a fucking horror movie where I'm like, you've done it, Stretch, stop. What are the odds that they fucking are just parking at this amusement place? You've proven this is where they are. Now go get help and then come back.
But her decision to follow them at all is so atypical of horror movie heroines.
I know.
She won. She beat the killers. They left her alone. And she's like, no, I can't let this continue. I have to figure this out. I have to find them. I have to get the evidence.
Right.
She chases them to this Texas Battleland amusement park, which is just like a little rinky-dink amusement park that is themed to Texas history and the Alamo specifically, and has all these icons of Texas history. Your Davy Crockett, your Sam Houston, but it also has an underground layer ? Which is where the Sawyers live. I don't know how this works, but that's okay. This movie's a dream. Basically, it feels like you're in a dream. You're in a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she also like kind of had to chase them because like, what is she gonna do? They like Chop Top thinks she's dead because Leatherface let her live. What is she gonna do? Broadcast on the radio the next night, and then he's gonna know that she's alive, and then he's gonna come back for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And it's like one of those things. So it's like if she doesn't try her best to put an end to this, like she can't live her life either.
Right.
Like her career's over too. Yeah, she's lucky to escape with her life, but like everything she knows is done. She can't go back on the radio and stuff.
Well, it's like seeing a cockroach. I can't take my eyes off of it because then I don't know where it is. So I have to just yell for Matt, roach, 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 until, I need to see it die or I can't go on with my night.
well, but she is this would be like if you went and got the roach yourself, and that's what separates her. And also just
Sometimes I do.
the greatest, the greatest heroes to me are the people like her who are like, I'm scared out of my fucking mind right now, but I know that I have to act brave in front of this guy who has a chainsaw at my crotch. And she does it throughout the movie, and she's playing it as scared shitless, but determined still
Yes.
to not show
It's
it.
so realistic. It's just so relatable just to have these moments of clarity, these moments of strategy, but to mainly just be terrified and not able to hold that in and exhausted. It was already midnight when this started. Fuck. She tired.
Shows a lot about Stretch's personality and who she is as a human, that her fight or flight, when it kicks in, it is fight. It is more than just, I'm going to fight you in the moment or I'm going to outsmart you in the moment. I'm going to hunt you down. And I always found that brilliant because out of all of the other final girls in movies, until like the newer Halloween movies, when Jamie Lee finally snaps and is like, I'm going to kill Michael Myers, like it's all just flight. It's all just it might be
Right.
fight in the moment, but it's at the end of the day, it's all flight. Jamie Lee moves away and boards up her house, to ensure she gets away from Michael Myers. Sydney moves away, far away from Woodsboro, trying to get away from the killers in Scream. It's all running away. But Stretch doesn't have any of that. Stretch is a fighter, and I've always loved and admired that about that character.
Yeah, and it feels like even if I want to in fight or flight, I'd like to be fleeing right now. That's what my body is telling me to do. But I'm not. I'm gonna fight that. I'm going to fight.
To cognitively override
because I know it's
your lizard brain, even
because I know it's the right thing to do. So Dennis Hopper, chases her down into this underground lair where there's this mural of Davy Crockett that has blood coming out of its mouth, because this movie's about the lies we tell ourselves about our history and build up these heroes. The real Davy Crockett, who was a politician, an aristocratic blue blood politician from Tennessee, who told lies about how much of an outdoorsman he was, went to the breakaway Republic of Texas that was seceding from Mexico because Mexico wanted to outlaw slavery and Texas did not. And then he fought in the Texas War of Independence with his stupid coonskin hat.
I love that the coonskin hat was performative.
Yep.
He's like, no, we do this.
Yes.
In Tennessee, we do this.
He was a master of self-mythology. He was the tale that they tell about him in the Alamo is that he was refused. The Mexicans offered him to surrender. I refused to surrender. That he was heroically killed in battle. In reality, he surrendered and then was executed. But it's all about the lies that we're propping up.
So it's not remember the Alamo. It's remember his version of the Alamo.
They were defeated at the Alamo. That's true. But this is like, I think Tobe Hooper thinks like if you went back in time and met the real Davy Crockett, he would be like Leatherface. He would seem that insane to you.
He would be at least like Lefty.
Yes, he would be like Lefty.
Crazed.
Yes. Because you have to be to go do this shit, to go run off to join the Texas War of Secession.
Not like Leatherface.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to impugn Leatherface. He'd be like Chop Top.
Yes. No, even he's not.
like
Okay,
Chop.
sorry. The older brother, he's the one. Sorry.
And, the wall bursts open with all these entrails.
Livers.
Yeah.
Those are livers. Tiny little. Anyway, that's what they actually are.
And then just one final note about this. Where does all of this take place in the end of the movie? Underneath the surface. This is all underneath the surface of American life.
Get out of here.
And I think that when Leatherface skins LG and Stretch is in the room with him while that happens, and it's, oh my God, skins him, And Leatherface plays the little game with her and puts the LG face on her, which is disturbing in its own right.
Yeah.
Then Leatherface leaves, and LG sits up and then looks up and sees Stretch, the woman he loves, is wearing his face as a mask and his hat. And that is when I'm just like, Tobe Hooper and the screenwriter, who I don't remember his name, it's like, this is pure inspiration. Like, this is like, I don't know how you come up with the idea of this, but when you see it happen, you're like, perfect. This is perfect. Perfectly fucked up, perfectly macabre, that a skinned guy wakes up and sees his own face on somebody else. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm basking it. What was that?
Nothing important.
Plugged. Okay. Yep.
Tom Savini in top form here, and then LG wakes up and he starts talking. He's like, I guess I'm falling apart on you, honey. It's so sad. I
didn't realize she didn't know LG was already dead. I didn't know that she didn't realize that's who was tossed into the back of the truck when she was, she even had to drive by his car to get out of the parking lot. So I just assumed, I didn't realize, but yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, there's nothing like it in any other movie.
And then, he as he's dying, the last thing he says is just, shit.
I love that. It's
he gives a little hawk to a.
Yeah.
And then she puts his face back on him like it's a mask. And it's so sweet and sad and so fucked up. And
does anyone else find it really endearing that they call him Bubba? They don't call him Leatherface.
They call him Leatherface too, but yeah, Bubba and Leatherface.
So sweet. And also that they do know him. I mean, of course, you grow up with someone and you live with them, you know him, but like there's two or three times where his family calls him out for like, I can tell you hiding something. Like he's just got certain tells whenever he's fancying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Cause he likes Stretch. She's his either object of fascination or love interest or toy, kind of all three at the same time.
Aren't they always, man?
I like that the movie doesn't settle on one mode. Like it doesn't make it like a pure like Beauty and the Beast romance.
Right.
It's all kinds of different weird things at once, and Stretch is trying to, as best she can, to figure out how to save herself.
That plays into Leatherface as a character, because if you look at like the stretch of time between the first Texas Chainsaw and the second one, in the first one, Leatherface is very childlike, and he's still childlike in this one. But if you view it as him being more like a horny teenager in this one, he is actually getting those feelings. He's getting, that, what is this
urges,
tingling downstairs that, that I've not felt before, but I feel looking at this girl, and he's not around a lot of women, clearly, at least, especially not ones that have enough kind of sense to talk to him like he's a person,
right,
and not just a monster with a chainsaw. Everybody talks to him, and nobody really tries to plead with him or to talk with him like he would understand. Like nobody thinks that this monster could understand.
Yeah.
But Stretch kind of cues into that, and it's kind of fun, because it's like Leatherface is like a rough representation of like nonverbal autistic people, and what would happen if those people didn't have people who loved them, who really loved them, to help them live life as best as they can. Leatherface is like that if you just let that kind of the animalistic instinct take over.
Well, it's worse,
and
because he's also being guided to do bad things, to get rewarded for helping be sadistic, and he's being taught exactly the wrong things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that read of him as a teenager, because, nonverbal autistic people, when they become teenagers, also get horny like neurotypical people,
right?
Have the same instincts and hormones. And it reminds me of the John Mulaney joke. If you ask a teenager, why did you do that? They'll say, because I'm horny and full of rage. And like, I like that read of Leatherface in this movie. That's why he destroys the radio station, because he's horny and full of rage and doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And teenagers are insane. And we have a 14-year-old who is insane. Like, why are you fighting with your mom for 3 hours late at night? 'Cause I'm a 14-year-old. And, Leatherface corners Stretch with the chainsaw and she says, listen, it's not going to work out.
Give this a lot of thought.
And then his family shows up and they're like, Leatherface, you son of a bitch. And then they start making fun of him. Bubba's got a girlfriend. And they're going to tell Grandpa on him. And he's really upset. And he starts like punishing himself and hitting himself in the head because he's brought shame upon himself. And they're going to tell Grandpa. And they take Stretch to the dinner table to meet Grandpa. She wakes up on this throne of bones. That now kind of becomes a stretch of sort of a redo of the first movie for a little while. And Drayton gives his soliloquy about automation coming for the slaughtering and meatpacking industry. The Grandpa limply hits her on the head. And finally, Dennis Hopper shows up, bringing in the sheaves and the way that they react to him. Chop Top is just like singing along with him, and Drayton's like, "Who are you, a competitor?"
Right. Every bad thing that happens to him is just the same bad thing over and over again. Just like the Nam vet. It's just, oh, am I getting replaced? What am I being replaced? What is this, automation? What is this, replacement?
And so Lefty and Drayton, like, they don't understand each other at all. Like, they have no idea who their adversary is. They just start fighting, and they have the chainsaw duel, Leatherface versus Lefty.
Can I just say that it's a perfect example of how these men are stuck in time and are so scared of the status quo changing and then being replaced, or just whatever power they still have, they need it to be the same and hold on to it. That's why they keep putting the hammer into the patriarch's hand. Like, no, this is your role, Grandpa. No, I know you've got it in you. No, okay, no, it doesn't matter. If you're an old man fumbling at the top, Trump and Biden, I'm just going to keep putting the power back. No.
It's Thanksgiving. You cut the turkey, Dad.
Yes, it's tradition. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up politics, but it's just like, no, you're supposed to be at the top. Here, shaky pen. Let me give you a weighted pen. Sorry, okay.
You got a debate tonight? Let me give you a little shot now. Let me give you another little shot in the butt.
Let me powder you up here. Yeah. Both of you guys look great.
Let me make sure you take your little nap.
All right. Here's a little Adderall. All right.
Drayton, he's ranting about. He's always just ranting in this movie. It's hard to describe. It's just there's no performance like this. Nobody speaks with this cadence. Nobody switches from subject to subject, talking to his brothers, but also talking to himself.
Yeah.
And ranting about how the small businessman's always getting fucked in this country.
Even after he gets fucked in the ass, he's like, of course I got fucked in the ass. Is there a more just disturbing saw injury in any movie? Just to open your ass that way? It is so gross.
But then he's like, at least I don't have to go see about my hemorrhoids.
Right, fix my hemis, whatever you call it.
And he decides, you know what? Fuck it. I have this grenade. I'm just going to unpin this grenade and blow it all up.
Yeah, because if I can't have it, no one can.
Exactly.
No, I mean, I agree with you guys. It's really a picture of American values and of the patriarchy within, and how I don't know. I look at a scene like this and I just think that this is what we would come to if women just decided to stop fucking around with men,
right?
Just form their own society
underground. I love that.
This is what it would look like. All our furniture would be made of bones,
and we're all just like, no homo, kick you in the pants. I can't actually hug you. I'm like Danny Zuko in Greece. All I can do is punch you in the shoulder.
No, instead we penetrate each other with our giant saws.
I think it's really funny though that, like, out of all of this stuff, this crazy family doesn't find killing people, cooking them, and eating them to be anything wrong with that.
No.
But they do put a lot of like bad like thought about sex stuff. So like Drayton is like really upset when Leatherface gets these feelings for Stretch, quote unquote feelings, or these sexual desires and stuff. He it's a thing to be ashamed of. And it just makes me think like, man, I think this family is like one of those like overly traditional families that probably only procreates to reproduce. And I know that the third Texas Chainsaw movie touches on that a little bit more. That is a discussion for another day though, I guess. But yeah, it's just, this whole scene was wild. It does harken back to the first movie. It's a total recreation of the first movie. And it's wild to see that after all these years, they're still holding Grandpa up to this pedestal that he is the strong leader, and they make him do the hammer thing. And clearly, this old man is just doesn't know where he is.
Right.
Yeah.
He has no clue what's going on.
Well, I like that what Laci said about politics, like all of our politics. I mean, our world is run by these decrepit old people, men and women, you know, Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, who, get wheeled out on a wheelchair and they're like, okay, Senator, here's your hammer. Okay, gavel in the session. Congress is in session. Oh, no, you dropped it, Speaker Pelosi. Here you go.
We'll edit that out.
Look, I know you can't control your trembles, but I'm going to put this red button right here next to you. Bud,
yes.
Okay.
Right.
And it's so Drayton says to Leatherface, like, when he starts talking about sex, like, oh, you're thinking about sex. No. You know, it's sex for the saw. It's you. If you want to be in this family, this solid family unit.
No, that is why, and that's why sex is ever policed in any kind of context with religion or with any other thing. It is a way of controlling. It is the urge we all have. So what better to do than outlaw that, to make that taboo? And it's the only way to open up and allow for other people to come in and to take away attention or to mess up loyalties. Leatherface is the exact kind of person who would instantly follow someone else if he was shown even an ounce of love. So they need their strongman Leatherface. He cannot have sex or his loyalties will be split and he will leave.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point.
It's completely obvious why not to have sex.
Yeah, he's easily controlled, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like Leatherface so much too, because it's like you say, he if anybody shows him love, he would easily follow them, which makes it to where Leatherface is not inherently evil.
No, right?
He's not. It's like in Wreck-It Ralph. Just because I'm a bad guy doesn't mean I'm a bad guy.
That's right.
You know? So he's, unlike Freddy Krueger, which is like inherently like an evil dude.
Yeah.
I feel like Leatherface is more in the realm of like Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
Jason is misguided as well.
Yep.
By his mother. Jason has been brainwashed. He's been mistreated.
Raised by the woods.
Yeah, raised by the
alone.
Woods. He follows instincts, and he's driven by vengeance. And so I feel like with just a different guiding hand, both of those characters could be vastly different people and could maybe even do good. I don't know, but that's a really good point. By using sex, they use sex as a mechanism of control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any outside influence at all. Like if you knew that other people in the world are not like your two fucked up brothers, you'd be in trouble. He's so every time we talk about a Halloween or a Jason movie or this, we're just struck by how sympathetic
all
these
the
guys are.
Yeah.
It's smart of this movie to then actually have other evil people who are also sympathetic in their way. But you're like, okay, the real villain here is the oldest brother. He's the one pulling all the strings.
I mean, but he's also been abandoned to raise his two younger inept brother. I mean, a lot has been put on him.
He says
that.
It, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a choice. He's stuck. He has to be the breadwinner, have all the ideas. These guys aren't going to come up with ideas. He's completely isolated and driven mad by it, and never got to have a family of his own or a woman or any of that. So why the fuck should they? And the only two real villains in this entire movie are the ones that die in the beginning. I'm serious. The yuppies freak me the fuck out.
Oh yeah, they're the worst. But yet you even when you see the first movie, you assume Drayton is the father of the family,
right?
And I always forget when I'm watching. Oh no, he is their brother.
Well, they never talk about a father. They only ever talk about granddad. So you got to think their father must have been an abusive piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Was why did they never talk about him?
And then who would be angrier than an oldest brother who was forced to be a father of a family?
As an oldest sibling, I understand that anger.
She's very mean to her brother.
I'm nice now.
Yeah, for the past 2 years, you've been really nice.
To him?
Yeah, to him.
Yeah, we're like this.
Yeah, for the past 2 years.
Well,
before then,
it took time.
Leatherface dies, gets impaled with I guess you don't see him die, but he gets a chainsaw through the chest. Is the next movie connected to this at all? Texas Chainsaw 3?
Not really, no. It's like Drayton Sawyer doesn't come back. There's no mention of any of the characters or even
Okay.
the underground lair. It's back to a farmhouse,
Oh.
and it's kind of more like and I think it even kind of changes locations in Texas because it's like there's like a swamp and stuff.
Okay. So Corpus Christi.
It's cool. It's a cool movie. It's weird. It's kind of like the forgotten stepchild of the series. I feel like it doesn't get a lot of like love, like because like it's you got the first movie that's so legendary, you got the second movie that's very divisive, you got the third or the fourth movie that's notoriously hated on, and then you got the third movie that's just not really talked about.
Not being discussed at all. Middle children, am I right?
That's the one I haven't seen from the original, so I need to watch it. So everybody, I get the lair blows up, but Chop Top and Stretch escape, and he chases her into the outer layer of the amusement park and chases her up a fake rock tower where there's a monument to the grandmother, and her
I think it's
chainsaw is
actually grandmother as well. I think that's actually her.
Yeah.
Yeah, with her giant fucking milk tits.
But I guess I don't get the sense from the first movie that the family's into chainsaws, that it's just Leatherface who's into chainsaws.
Weird. No, grandma needs this chainsaw, right?
It's like, no, we all love our chainsaws.
Okay, but people were literally buried with their guns. These are just stand-ins for guns.
Okay.
And glorifying, Western frontiers. I don't fucking know.
It is very upsetting. Like, he corners her and starts slicing at her as she's trying to turn on the chainsaw and just keeps slicing her back.
Because this guy is just like, he wants to play with his food. It's, he does it with the LG also. The people don't fall into your actual trap all that often. So it's like,
he slices his own neck too. He's just,
that part I'm like, what's going on here?
He's just an asshole.
He's really being an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys get the whole feeling that the grandma was actually alive whenever Stretch ripped the chainsaw out of her? Because like she clearly looks like she's dead. She's not moving until this chainsaw is ripped out of her, and then her head moves. Kind of moves around a little bit.
Yep.
And then she falls over, and then of course Chop Top's like, "You killed her, you bitch! You killed her!"
Yep.
It's like you're thinking like she's so decayed. She looks like a mummy.
But exactly. But look at the grandpa.
Dead. She was moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
And her skin.
She looks even more like way more decayed than the grandpa.
Yes.
For sure.
No,
like his skin was at least, you could tell like he could be alive.
Right.
She's like decaying.
I mean, she's like a White Walker. Yeah.
I never thought she was alive, but you might be
I saw
right.
the same thing you did, JT. Yeah. I saw this movie plays with that. The same with LG standing up and being awake. This movie is constantly subverting your expectations of like, how can someone live? How decrepit can someone's life be, and they're still alive and living it?
Yeah.
But like literally, when Stretch rips the chainsaw out of her, the grandma like her head like moves around, like looking around.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck
like this is the first time anyone's talked to me in a while.
Yep. Yeah, it's like it's weird, and I think that's also like because Grandpa is like supposed to be like
163 or something, right?
Like
36 or 63.
It's like, damn, is cannibalism really the fountain of youth?
Right? I'm starting to change my mind.
Well, everybody who has eaten human flesh says it's actually really great.
Shut up, man.
They do. No, they do.
They don't say really great. They say chicken.
They say it's it's the tastiest meat. That's what they say.
It's a delicacy.
Mm-hmm. And she turns on the chainsaw, defeats Chop Top with it. He falls to his presumable death, and then she does the chainsaw dance, just like Leatherface at the end of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Except here, not out of despair and frustration, but of triumph.
There is a deleted shot in the movie that does kind of give some more permanence to Chop Top's death. When he falls down like into that pipe thing that's like smoking, there is a deleted shot that shows it. It's comedic. It shows his clothes shooting back out. It's cartoon as hell,
right?
But that gives. I think they cut it because that gives permanence to Chop Top being dead, and I guess they didn't want to definitively kill him.
Yeah.
But I love that shot. I wish they left it in. But you can like all of these editions, you can see that.
Okay.
He falls. He falls in a Boba Fett falling into the Sarlacc pit sort of way, which was also final, but maybe not final. So it works for me. It looks very similar. But that's the movie. That's Texas Chainsaw 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. So what are our final thoughts and our star ratings out of 5, starting with our guest, JT?
This movie is just so legendary, and it's important to horror comedies in the same way that Evil Dead 2 is important to horror comedies, and that it takes something that is traditionally supposed to be scary and it just makes it fun. And I find that this movie it just means the world to me. Like it's so important to my personal personality, and it to me is one of my load bearing beams.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to give it a 5.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at it as, really picking it apart, looking at examining plot holes and this and that, I would say.
No, we don't do that shit.
Wait, you spoke over his star rating.
Sorry, no, we don't do that shit. Just go with your heart.
Matt hates plot hole ideas. Yeah.
Okay, my heart says 5.
Good.
Okay, go with your heart.
Yes. 5 stars. Laci?
I'm between a 4 and a 4.5. I can't think of anything like it, and except for the things that I can think of that are like it came after. So it didn't have to be this innovative. It didn't have to be this filled with heart and new ideas, and it just felt like somebody woke up refreshed and was like, "I'm gonna make something that's never been made before." I just fucking love that, especially the age he was when he made it. So, I would definitely watch this again, which is rare for me with horror. 4.5. What the hell?
Okay. I only saw this for the first time a year ago, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then this week I've watched it 3 times to get ready for this. Well, 2.5. And the first time this week I was like, oh, okay, this is so much better than I understood. I'm picking up on so much more, and I'm just so grateful for all of the directions this goes, and for all of the inspired ideas like LG still being alive after being skinned and sitting up and talking. And then watching it again, my esteem for it went up even more. I still prefer the first one, but there are a few movies better than Texas Chainsaw 1. Right. I think my only quibble is I think this movie runs out of gas a little bit when they get to the underground layer. I think up until then it's full steam ahead.
Yeah.
But it's just I like the first half a little better than the second half. But that's the minorest of quibbles. So I give it 4.5
Woohoo!
stars out of 5. I love it. I think it's just really special to have a horror movie, especially a slasher movie. It would be if John Carpenter made another Halloween. What would that look like? And he never was interested. But if he did have to go back and do it, what would he have done? What if Wes Craven made a proper Nightmare on Elm Street sequel? The comparisons are like Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi revisiting his property years later, now with a bigger budget, and I get to do some things I've never been able to do before, and I'm going to swerve and make it a little tonally different, and like Gremlins 2. So it's in a very program a film festival with those 3 movies, and you'll have a good time. That's what I say. Yeah. And thank you for having us watch it. I had so much fun.
Yes. Great
picking
pick.
over this movie, and I've been thinking about it all week and reading about it, and it's been a great time.
This might be the highest rated guest movie we've had.
Yeah, our guests pick bullshit.
No, I mean, load-bearing beams are just tricky like that. It's so rare that we get stuck on something, and that's why it's interesting to me that it's illogical for a lot of people. But this one just happened to be logical. But JC, you always kind of remind me of someone that has a lot in common with Matt, and you both are very logic-based people.
Confirmed.
Does compute.
Try to be, but I'm so glad you guys liked it, because as a fan of this movie, I'm used to having to fight for my opinion to be validated with this movie.
Idiots,
so
fools.
It's so nice to be able to be in a room with people who actually respect it. And I'm not asking anybody to say that Texas Chainsaw is their favorite movie of all time. I just want people to acknowledge that it belongs in the series as sort of a fun brother to the original.
For sure.
And that it was made by the original director. It's you have to take it seriously. If it's weird, there's a reason it's weird. Consider why that may be. And there's just so much going on in this movie. So much it's so dense, so packed with stuff to look into. Yeah, kick this movie, you hear a solid thump because it's full.
You love the kick thing.
I do like to kick.
You
things.
always using that metaphor.
So JT, the talking head, plug away. Tell everybody once again where they can find your stuff.
Matt has been so gracious to throw my TikTok up here on screen. I can also be found on YouTube. I do more long form videos on YouTube, but for the most part, I want to plug the Masters of Matinee. You can find us on TikTok at Masters of Matinee and on YouTube. We are planning to come back on YouTube with a live format podcast show soon. Hopefully we can get the Load Bearing Beams podcast to come on and do a guest spot with us sometimes. It's going to be a show that's going to be all about our friends and the people we're talking about movies.
Awesome.
And then we also have on our TikTok, we have several different creators over there making fun videos about movies and making short films. Shout out to Monique's Movie Madness, Cinema Chris, Horror Film Kid 48, Cinema
Spooky
Emmy,
Tea.
and Spooky Tea.
Yes.
Love you guys as well.
Love you very much. Those are all the people I'm on Discord with.
What is the premise of the podcast? Like what is the elevator pitch?
It is changed a lot from the genesis of it. Originally, it was supposed to be just a podcast about physical media collecting and film, but really physical media came first. That was like kind of what it was built on. And the idea was that I would be the main host, and then every episode we had a rotating cast, which originally was Zedzilla, Drooby Dooby Movies, Teo the Terminator, and then like we had some adjustments and stuff. Now we have Judas, and so that has kind of like the pre-recorded stuff of it has kind of ended. I don't think we intend to really go back and do more pre-recorded episodes.
Okay.
We kind of just want to do live format now is what we're looking at, because it just seems more fun and relaxed. And the reason we started doing it was that we just wanted to have a group of friends to talk about movies with.
Right.
Okay, well, links to all of JT's links are in the description. Please do go check him out. He's a great guy, a smart guy with very interesting and informed opinions. JT, the talking head. As for us, next week, our last spooky movie of the month.
Aw.
I know. And they don't get much scarier than this. The Craft from 1996.
I'm sorry, I'm a pussy. I love witches.
Episode
Fucking sue me.
134. The second Nev Campbell Skeet Ulrich movie we've covered this month.
Is this already? Yeah.
And this is a redo of episode 4 of Load Bearing Beams, and JT has pulled his 4K of The Craft off of his shelf.
Nice.
In this packaging I've never seen.
Yeah, it looks like Ghostbusters from here.
The Craft.
There's my ladies.
Our fourth episode of the show. We just kept doing all their vocal fries and their manon. And we'll see if let's see
if we've evolved in our ability to cover this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to like it this time.
Don't
one. Listen to it. I'm sure it sucks. But do tell a friend about our podcast, Load Bearing Beams, and tell them to give it 5 stars.
What else are you going to talk about?
On
fucking losers?
iTunes.
Yeah.
You fucking simps.
These disgusting pieces of... What was it? Dog? What?
Dog dick.
Yeah,
JT,
dog.
our listeners are pigs. We like to dom them by calling them pigs and dog dicks.
Shut up. Lick my plate.
If you are listening to this, please, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and watch the show if you're so inclined. It's the same product on audio and video, but you get to see our lovely flapping gums. I'm on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9. Laci's on Letterboxd at Loadbearing Laci.
Not a porn name.
Not a porn name.
Not a porn name.
If you were thinking it's a porn name, think again.
It's not the load I bear.
It's not. We have a bonus video this week that you can find on our TikTok, Load.Bearing.Beams, our Instagram, Load Bearing Beams, or our Twitter, Load Bearing Pod. And the bonus video, which JT joined us on, is what are our favorite movies about cooking to honor Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. What are our favorite movies about cooking? That's the bonus video this week. Links to that are in the description of this episode.
All right.
And the music on the show is by my band, Rural Route 9. Rural Route 9.
Rural Route 9.
And we do the... That's where the comes from, is the sound of cranking a saw.
Go on.
I will. We do the intro and interstitial music and the song you're hearing here, and you can find us on Spotify and all that shit, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, I love you. Goodbye.
Three, four. everybody. LeBaron Creams, LeBaron